was only ever really into Blur at a surface level, and by surface level I mean I really like a lot of the stuff that Damon Albarn has done with Gorillaz, and as far as Blur goes, I've been blasting the track Girls and Boys for like the better part of 15 years. And that's not to say I don't enjoy Blur, I just couldn't really name any other songs other than that and maybe like song 2. The rest has just kind of been situational appreciation. And now we've got this new record after a long hiatus, the Ballad of Darren, which is making me question my general passing over of this band, because it is really quite good. Welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host. There is a new Blur album. Like I said, it is called the Ballad of Darren, and just listening to this, even on just a first pass, having very few other connections with this body, this era of Damon Albarn's work, I'm really liking what I'm hearing. There is some really fantastic ballad work here beyond obviously just the first track titled The Ballad, which has some really excellent Britpop, almost David Bowie-like notes. What is here is largely very melodic, moody, even sometimes brooding cuts at points like on the track The Everglades. So the album starts with The Ballad, which to me reads like a love song. Really love the subdued guitar work. There's some great piano work on this one too, which is pretty consistent throughout the record, and touching again on the Bowie thing. During the build-up for this track, there's these moments where some of the vocal performance on this track in particular ring out in a really similar fashion, really similar way to some of the material off of Bowie's last record, Black Star, which, I mean, there's a few different approaches you could take to emulating Bowie, but this one is really tasteful, although I do imagine unintentional. St. Charles Square, I have similar thoughts with vocally, though there's some really subtle touches of classic punk in here as well, with some of this like driving rock heavy parts that are way more reminiscent of like 1970s British punk acts, to my ear kind of sounding like The Clash. Also, I love the dry effects they're using for this guitar. It's got this classic, almost Vox-like crunch that I really dig. Barbaric has this really great driving synth work for the low end of this track that pairs really quite well with this very full bass guitar that is just nailing this track. Of all of the tracks here, this one sounds the most like it could have been off of the last Gorillaz record. I mean, add a few big synth builds and bam, there you go. Russian Strings I do find to be one of the weaker songs on the album, very much a bit of middle of the album syndrome going on here. Still a decent cut, mind you, really great piano work on this one. There is some really great backup vocals as well here that are a little bit gimmicky but still land well. I think it's just a little too washed out of a track for my tastes. The very loose reverb here at moments does tend to get a bit overbearing. The follow-up track, The Everglades, on the other hand, I think is my favorite track here. It's a short and sweet, mostly acoustic focused track that really hits deeply and emotionally. Again, a bit brooding, but no less sweet. Frankly, they could have done a lot more on the production end of things for this track, but I'm really glad that they didn't. There's this really nice swelling of strings that carry this tune, but it never really feels like too much. It's just a solid listen. The Narcissist almost reads like a self-critique. I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, but it does feel like kind of an analysis and self-reflection of trying to kind of pull back from your own ego and wrestling with your own driving force of self when it comes to the you that others see. And that's probably a bit of a convoluted interpretation, but past that, this is a really solid track, pretty straightforward, very understandable that this one was one of the singles. Goodbye Albert is a bit of a slow burn. Damon is delivering these somewhat long-winded lines, but with some very weighty breath. The driving, gritty guitars come back on this track, and it sounds phenomenal once again. Faraway Island is a very longing track. This one also reads to me like a love song, with the island in this case being another person. The context of whatever relationship this is not specified, but you know, it could be like a good friend or like a lover, or it could be in line with some of the other tracks here, and maybe it's a song about like a dead friend or something. It's sort of a song about reconciling with a broken thread. Avalon has some really great horn work. Again, moody, more aquatic themes of shores and islands and beaches. The Bowie style delivery comes back again on this one with some of these very thin, high parts from Albarn. Solid track, bit of a grower for me, but it is a sweet song. The last track, The Heights, bookends the album nicely with another building acoustic track that to me sounds very much like a Flaming Lips track, like something off of Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. I mean, it's probably the other way around, but I think there is a line that can be drawn here, especially vocally. I do really love the build-up to the end of the track with this sort of fuzzy, static build-up that just sort of burns off the end of the track. Yeah, man, this is a moody-ass record. I wouldn't say it's a total bummer or anything, but it is so very low energy. It's watery, slow, emotional. It's very much a late-era album if I've ever heard one. There doesn't need to be a huge swinging dance hit. It doesn't need any poppy bass lines. It just is what it is. And while it may not have been, to me, the best collection of tracks these guys have put out, I still think it is a really admirable release. There's a handful of songs here that I think will probably be in rotation for a while for me, really digging the Everglades, St. Charles Square, and The Heights. I think Damon was taking the opportunity to come back to Blur after so many years of just focusing on the Gorillaz that the main thing with this record was just getting out the heavier themes in a way that felt meaningful to Damon Albarn. Not that there aren't some heavier songs emotionally on the Gorillaz side of things, but this one definitely feels more personal than most of those tracks. And now I think I'm just gonna have to go back and dig more into this catalog, because if you can go from Girls and Boys to this moody ass record, then hey, you know, that's range right there. Really solid album. I'm thinking this one's a solid 7. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you all thought of this album in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. Check out my Instagram, my Reverb, and my Depop. Links to all of those are in the description below. Thank you all so much again. We'll see you on the flip side.